From the Opubco Studios in Oklahoma City, you're watching the Press Row. I'm Jenny Carlson. He's Barry Trammell. It's time for our We Pick 'em segment, brought to you by Papa John's Pizza. Go online right now and order your pizza at papajohns.com. Not only is it We Pick 'em, it's college football We Pick 'em. Thank goodness it's time for some football. Let's get right to it with Thursday night's big opener, Texas A&M at South Carolina, an SEC showdown to start the year. Barry, who you got in this one?
Well, the SEC Network's game telecast kick off with this game. They're fired up about it. You can't blame them. It's an interesting matchup. A&M's post-Johnny Manziel era. South Carolina still going strong in the Steve Spurrier era. People, I think, have not appreciated what Spurrier has done at South Carolina. This was a mediocre program forever. An occasional good team, never a great team. South Carolina has become an SEC contender under Steve Spurrier consistently. I think the Gamecocks get it done and win over the Aggies.
Yeah, me too. Tough duty for Texas A&M to go on the road with a new quarterback, a defense that still has a ton to prove. The Texas A&M defense is just, it's not been the wrecking crew of days of yore. I mean, it's nowhere close to it. So they got to go on the road. They got to play a really good team. I don't see Texas A&M winning, but it's a fun matchup to start. It's at least got some juice. I'm looking forward to 5 o'clock on Thursday night. All right, Barry, what about this one? A big matchup on Saturday, 4:30 in the afternoon. Clemson goes to Georgia. Who wins this one?
Before I pick it, I salute both schools. Clemson and Georgia both play a good schedule. Late in November, Georgia's going to play Georgia Tech. Clemson's going to play South Carolina. Both of these schools have 2 stiff non-conference games. I think it's fabulous that these teams are stepping up and playing this game. So I salute you. I'm sorry that either one of you have to lose. I'm picking Georgia because I believe in the home team. Clemson in the Taj Boyd, Sammy Watkins post era. They're going to have to sort of retool. Georgia's going to have a good team. I'll take the Bulldogs.
Yeah, I'm going with Georgia in this one too. But to me, this is kind of an underrated big game this first weekend. A lot of talk about LSU, Wisconsin, Florida State obviously opening up at AT&T Stadium against Oklahoma State. Kind of mojo around those games. But to me, Clemson, Georgia, these are 2 teams that in this new playoff era, I think we could see these 2 maybe in the conversation late in the year with some really good records. And this game could really be a talking point in that playoff scenario. So I like Georgia, but I think it's going to be a really good game. And don't sleep on it. This will be a game you'll want to watch. All right, Barry, what about the big game on Saturday night, LSU against Wisconsin? They're playing this one in Houston. Who are you going to take?
Well, I've got LSU. I think Les Miles, of course, always has a good team. And I think playing in Houston, they'll have an advantage. I think the untold question, or the unanswered question about this game is, what's Wisconsin really like in the post-Brett Bielema era? With Brett Bielema and Barry Alvarez, they played the same kind of football forever. They're still going to try that under Gary Anderson, who came over from Utah State last year, but I think he's a little bit unproven on the Big Ten landscape. I'm interested to see what Wisconsin does moving forward with Gary Anderson. I'll take LSU in this one.
Yeah, I'm going to go with LSU in this one as well. I think LSU's definitely got some questions. Who's going to play quarterback? How are they going to play? I think that's really a big question. So I'm not in to LSU in terms of I think that they could be a national championship contender. Could prove me wrong, of course, but the Big Ten is really, I'm soured on the whole Big Ten. I think there's some good teams up there, but I think it's extremely top heavy. And right now I don't have Wisconsin in that upper top of the Big Ten. So I'm going to say LSU, but this is a fun matchup. I wish we weren't working Saturday night. This would be one that I'd go home and watch. But we will be working Saturday night because Louisiana Tech is at Oklahoma. That's the Sooners opener, 6 p.m. Saturday. It's a pay-per-view. Barry, who you got winning this one?
Well, I've got the Sooners. It's a very good game for the Sooners in that this is the least attractive of their non-conference schedule. And La Tech is a legitimate opponent. I mean, they've got a decent college football tradition, a good quarterback legacy. They've pulled some big upsets. They beat Alabama in back-to-back years in the 90s. They beat OSU in 2001. This is a program that has stood tall at times. So this is not your typical worst game of the season. So it's a good matchup. I appreciate Louisiana Tech coming up. I appreciate OU willing to play this as the rum-dum game. but the Sooners should win in a walk.
Yeah, I'm picking OU to win as well. I think that they are the superior team. I think they got more talent. Now, I will say this. If you're a Sooner fan, you know this well, but you might forget it until this time every year. Oklahoma tends to have some struggles in openers. They don't necessarily roll through openers, and it seems like on a year in and year out basis, OU plays its opener, usually against a team that you think, they should win by 28, 35, something easy, and they win more like 18, 21. So don't be surprised if you walk out of the stadium on Saturday night or turn off your TV and say, that maybe wasn't as easy a win as I thought. That tends to be OU's mojo, so don't be surprised if this is in the 24, 28-point range. All right, Barry, what about the big game down in Arlington on Saturday night? This one on ABC. It's primetime game at 7. Oklahoma State playing the defending national champions, Florida State. Who are you taking in this one?
Well, I've got Florida State, and I say that with regret. It's a year late. What a game. Boy, wouldn't you like to see OSU Florida State play last season? Mm-hmm. And then OSU Mississippi State this season? That would be two excellent games. This one could still be a solid game, a competitive game, but it's going to be up to that OSU offense to keep up. The Cowboy defense, missing 7 starters off last year's team, is not the championship caliber that it was a year ago. Not going to stop Jameis Winston in that Florida State offense. Cowboys are going to have to score a bunch just to make it competitive.
Yeah, I'm going to Florida State in this one as well. And I'm like you, Barry. I wish I could say different. I wish I could say that Oklahoma State, has a good fighting chance in this one, but I just think it's going to be tough to handle Florida State. They've got an offensive line of all returning seniors. I mean, that's going to be tough to handle. I do like the fact that it's going up against a OSU defensive line that honestly is probably the strength of this Oklahoma State team. But then you've got a thin linebacker core. A guy like Ryan Simmons could potentially play the whole entire game against a team like Florida State. That's going to be tough. I just think that it's going to be really a difficult task, and that Oklahoma State is going to have to almost be perfect spot on to be able to handle this team and really have a chance at the end. And I'm just not sure you can ask a team returning so few defensive starters and a rebuild offensive line to be perfect in its opener. Maybe if this game was later in the season, I'd think different, but in the opener, it's really hard to see anything other than a Florida State win. Hey, be sure to stay with the best coverage team anywhere at newsok.com and every day in the Oklahoman.